We keep things rolling here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out the video version or different segments of the show on YouTube. Subscribe to us at the Sports Cubicle. Of course, check us out over at the mothership at Heartland Signal, WCPT 820, the Sports Cubicle, and a huge moment, a huge move, a huge day for the Chicago Bulls as they, for the first time in 3 years, made a huge trade, a trade that has the NBA world talking. This comes to us from Adrian Wojnarowski on ESPN.com. Bulls trading Alex Caruso to Thunder for Josh Giddey, sources say. The Chicago Bulls are trading two-time all-defensive team guard Alex Caruso to the Oklahoma City Thunder for guard Josh Giddey, sources told ESPN on Thursday. The trade delivers the Thunder one of the league's most coveted role players, a 30-year-old guard general manager Sam Presti has long pursued for the Western Conference #1 seed this past postseason. Caruso's arrival could be seen as an addition comparable to the Golden State Warriors' acquisition of Andre Iguodala in 2013. At the time of that deal, Iguodala was also 30 years old. The Bulls have been determined to find a playmaker to replace Lonzo Ball, and Giddey, who's 21, comes with all-star potential that would be unlikely to be realized with the Thunder because of the playmaking star power that surrounded him. Point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the MVP runner-up this past season, and there's an expectation that the franchise wants to give 7-footer Chet Holmgren even more playmaking duties. Giddey was the number 6 pick in the 2021 NBA draft and developed into one of the league's most creative young playmakers. The Bulls will offer him an opportunity to have the ball in his hands, more freedom to pass and score. They needed an engine for their offense, and they land that with Giddey. Giddey played a career-high 80 games for the Thunder this past season, but eventually started to come off the bench in the Western Conference playoffs. His scoring average dropped from 16.6 points last season to 12.3 points this season as his role with the Thunder evolved. Giddey has 11 career triple-doubles, fourth most by a player aged 21 or younger, trailing only Luka Doncic, Magic Johnson, and Ben Simmons, according to ESPN Stats and Information Research. And you can check out the rest of the article, Bulls trading Alex Caruso to Thunder for Josh Giddey by Adrian Wojnarowski. So that's on the court. That is the move, the transaction, the players involved, the teams involved. But that's not all this story entails. No, of course it's not with the Chicago Bulls because they traded somebody who was under investigation of having an inappropriate relationship with an underage girl. Now, there has been developments and some conclusions to that story and to that rumor and to that investigation. This also comes to us from ESPN. Sources, NBA closes investigation into Thunder's Josh Giddey, and this was on May 23rd, 2024. The NBA has closed its investigation into Josh Giddey. Sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski on Thursday after police previously determined they would not pursue charges following allegations that the Oklahoma City Thunder guard had an inappropriate relationship with an underage girl. Newport Beach Police in California announced in January that they had been, quote, unable to corroborate any criminal activity by Giddey and would not pursue charges. The NBA came to a similar conclusion and closed its investigations, sources told Wojnarowski. The allegations against Giddey surfaced on social media in late November. In a since-deleted post, an anonymous social media user said a girl who was seen with Giddey in videos and photographs was a high school junior at the time. The social media account was deactivated since making the post. Newport Beach Police opened an investigation on November 29th, and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had said in early December that the league's investigation would, quote, take a backseat to the police process. Giddey, 21, has declined to comment about the allegations. He continued to play for the Thunder through their run to the Western Conference semifinals, averaging 8.7 points and 3.6 rebounds per game in the playoffs. And ESPN also credits Sid McMahon for information that was used in the report. Sources, NBA closes investigation into Thunder's Josh Giddey. This was May 23rd, 2024. And like it said in that article, the police ended their investigation in January of 2024. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. The simple fact is that the investigation was ended. They didn't pursue any charges, whether it was because there wasn't enough evidence, whether it was because the family wanted to keep things private and not pursue any type of charges, whether it was because there is a more he said, she said. Maybe it was one side telling a lie. There are so many different avenues it could have gone and speculation now that the investigation is ended. But the Bulls decided that the best route was to go after this player. That baggage can be glossed over so that they can get a young point guard. Now, I don't think there would be as much anger or as much frustration or as much confusion if the Bulls had traded Alex Caruso to any number of teams during the regular season where they could have gotten draft picks, where they could have gotten players, but instead, because of a reported mandate from ownership that they wanted to pursue the playoffs, they wanted this team to make the playoffs, they had to hold on to Alex Caruso. So you go ahead and you make this trade with OKC. And if you're the OKC Thunder, this is a dream come true. This might be the thing that gets you over the top. But for the Chicago Bulls, let's take away all the baggage. Let's take away all the grossness that was this story. You still only got a young guard who may have some attributes, but that's all you got. Where are the draft picks? Where is the thing that's going to help develop and set a foundation for your franchise? Now, I understand if you listen to people who are plugged into the NBA that this year's draft coming up is not a good one. It's a weak one comparative to other drafts. But the 2025 draft looks to have a lot of talent, especially 1 through 10. So you can see why teams don't want to give up a 2025 draft pick. But that is when you have to be creative. That is what good GMs, good vice presidents, good leadership does, is they make the hard deals. They are able to negotiate a deal that benefits their team. Now we sit here and your best trade asset is gone. So now you have to hope that Billy Donovan and that coaching staff develops Josh Giddey, that there isn't any other incidents, that it was a huge misunderstanding, that's what you're hoping for, best case scenario, and that he develops into a nice point guard. Of course, you like the idea of somebody who's 6'8", can handle the ball, a modern day point guard. Sure, there's a lot of things to like on the court, but that deal, the Bulls got fleeced. That is not enough for a valued asset. That is a player that teams that are trying to win championships believe if they will get them over the hump. And if you're going to trade with OKC, you couldn't get any one of those draft picks they have hoarding over there? So great, the Bulls made a move. First time in years. It wasn't enough. And once again, the confidence in Bulls fans towards this team is diminished. Because whether or not he ends up being a good point guard, we will always go back to this moment and say you did not get enough. You did not get enough value for what you were offering. And on top of it all, you brought in a guy that is going to have to answer to these allegations that have now been closed. This investigation has been closed, right? The NBA has concluded its investigation, but you're coming to Chicago. There's going to be a lot of reporters asking that question. There's going to be a lot of side eyes. A lot of teammates are going to have to deal with this vibe. Was it worth it? Both in return and in headache. Just once again, another moment in Bulls history where you just are left scratching your head. We want to know your thoughts of this trade and why now? Why not during the season? Why this guy? How much can he help the team in the future? And what does this mean for DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and the rest of the Chicago Bulls? Let us know. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to us at The Sports Cubicle. And, of course, check us out over at The Mothership at Heartland Signal, WCPT 820, The Sports Cubicle. Check out the merch over at luchadog.com. We have a whole lot left here on this edition of The Sports Cubicle. I'm Mike Mercado.